Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. It was projected to get worse, and indeed it did. Figures are alarming, but then measures are also now coming into place. Let me quickly say that this morning, in keeping with social distancing to the best of our ability, we're sort of, well, here we are. Let me just introduce AROCHUKWU James, TVC News Assignment Editor. Once again, AROCHUKWU, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And well, our friend Majid Jamil, Executive Editor, Upshots Media. Thank you very much, as always.
Thank you
for being here.
Nigerians.
Indeed. The President did indeed speak to the nation yesterday, and that's where we're going to start. So no need to go into too much commentary. We'll take the President and then we'll comment, and then of course we'll also, open the lines up to you too as well, because at this moment it's all about engaging with each other, and so that we can exchange ideas and exchange experiences and indeed get feedbacks.
The President's address to Nigerians was much awaited since the pandemic found its way into the country. Muhammadu Buhari noted that most of the cases confirmed are in Lagos and Abuja. The other states affected are persons who traveled from the two epicenters in the country. And so to limit interstate and intercity movement, this is his decision.
I am directing the cessation of all movements in Lagos and the FCT for an initial period of 14 days with effect from 11 p.m. on Monday, 30th March 2020. This restriction will also apply to Ogun State due to its close proximity to Lagos and the high traffic between the two states.
The President warns that there will be strict compliance as all relevant authorities have been notified. Those exempted from this presidential order are hospitals and related medical establishments, including manufacturing and distribution, companies involved in food processing, distribution and retail, as well as those involved in petroleum distribution and retail. Also exempted are firms dealing in power generation, distribution and transmission, and private security firms. Others are those working in the telecommunications sector, as well as broadcasting and print, who must all prove that they cannot work from home. There will also be strict measures monitoring the sea, land and air borders.
I will therefore ask all of us affected by this order to put aside our personal comfort to safeguard ourselves and fellow human beings or against COVID-19. Many other countries have taken far stricter measures in a bid to control the spread of the virus with positive results.
The President also says there will be palliatives for the vulnerable persons in the society who will be affected by this clampdown.
For residents of satellite and commuter towns and communities around Lagos and Abuja, whose livelihoods will surely be affected by some of these restrictive measures, we shall deploy relief materials to ease their pains in the coming weeks. More, I have directed that a 3-month repayment moratorium for all trader money, market money, and farmer money loans be implemented with immediate effect. I have also directed that a similar moratorium be given to all federal government-funded loans issued by the Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, and the Nigerian Export-Import Bank.
He says the Presidential Task Force is coordinating all efforts by the federal government to ensure the prevention and treatment of COVID-19 in the country, and he is prepared for any eventualities. Kemi Foladiemo, TVC News.
Okay, then, so that's the broadcast that, sort of has gone viral. Everybody has heard it, and the highlight is probably the shutdown. Although the President did, speak of other measures that government is taking, but the shutdown in Abuja and Lagos is crucial. And the other big thing that we'll talk about is an idea that has also been mooted elsewhere in other commentaries by the time the president was to broadcast that there needs to be a coordinated approach as opposed to what some might consider as sort of a, not exactly disjointed, but everybody doing what they thought was best. And I think the president put forward the idea that the presidential task force shall be the main, the big coordinating body, especially when it comes to donations and all that kind of a thing. Let's start with our guest, MJ. The shutdown, it has come. Whether people think that it was a bit delayed in coming or not, it has come. People yearned to hear from the president. People wanted to hear from our leader, and it has happened. Do you think, as the president enjoined, that now we'll be more galvanized into taking positive action?
Yeah, you know, for most Nigerians, there is nothing you do that will please everybody. Some people are saying the president ought to have talked, I mean, ought to have spoken to us, we didn't hear him. But some people even said himself and Abakari, they have been flown outside for treatment. But now, the president has spoken, whether belated or, I mean, he has spoken. But then there are three aspects to the speech of the president. What Nigerians wanted to hear, and what the president told us, and probably what he ought to have included in the speech. Now, the basics, shutdown, Lagos, Abuja, and the FCT, which is the best thing to do for now, because if you look at the stage we are now, is the stage they call community transfer. No new, I mean, no foreign bodies are coming into the country because we have shut down the international airport. So it is those who are with us now, I mean, those who have contacted it from the index cases and the other people who came in from abroad. Those are the ones we need to manage. So it is the community transfer, which, I mean, goes to what the governor of Lagos State also said, that Lagos is preparing for about 39,000. But then, if you also look at from February 27th, when we had that in the Italian index case, up till yesterday, 1 to 111, with 69 in Lagos, with just one fatality. I think we should commend those, the health minister, the NCDC, and of course the Lagos State government in the management of this COVID-19 virus. However, it is not sufficient for us to say, I mean, we are off the hook, because, like I said earlier, that 14-day mutation period for the virus is very critical. That's why some of these measures that have been taken by both the federal government and some state governments, including Lagos, are targeted at the next 14 days. And from what the World Health Organization has said, I mean, they have even had to give kudos to Nigeria and even the Lagos State government on the management of this pandemic. The next 14 days are very critical. That is why it is for our own interest to stay at home. I mean, when I was being called for this program yesterday, I mean, we were meeting the idea of probably running this program via Skype. That's what technology has provided. But then we should limit our exposures, our goings out to as minimal as it's practicable, because the next 14 days are very, very critical. I mean, you can see what is happening in New York, and the figures are also growing in Chicago, Illinois, and so many states. I mean, the health system in those countries are far, far overwhelmed. And these are places where we run to for help when we have health issues. So think that we don't even have such facilities, and I mean, it's enough for us to panic. The kind of signals we are getting from those advanced countries are enough for us to know that we can't afford, I mean, that kind of situation on our hands, especially given the fact that our health system is even seriously tasked now. So the president has said it all. I mean, we need to stay at home, we need this lockdown, and we need to be able to cope with it. It is a time that will come and go. I mean, it's not a death sentence.
And AROCHUKWU, as is being said, this is nobody in living memory, nobody in Nigeria has seen anything like this before. It's a pandemic. People are going back to the Spanish flu crisis, and that goes back to the 18-somethings. So nobody has seen anything like this before. Perhaps that is why we're talking about, on Friday when we were together, needing to intensify the campaign of knowledge about COVID-19 or COVID-19, depends on how you want to look at it. Because there are still those among us who are saying it's no big deal. There are still some among us, not in the urban centers, but maybe out of desperation, who are refusing to understand. And I purposely phrased it that way. It's not that they can't understand. They actually are refusing to understand. It's because they don't understand. They cannot conceptualize that which a lot of enlightened people around the world have come to grasp firmly. You need to stay away so that what Majid has just spoken about, the community infection stage, doesn't take over. I guess we can't overdo that one.
Exactly. Like when we were saying this on Friday, we made emphasis to the fact that the government has to do more in terms of sensitization. There are so many people out there who don't believe that there's anything called coronavirus. That is where we have to commend the president, for locking down.
They don't believe that there's anything called that, but they think it is being overstated.
It's definitely. Some people just think that, okay, like I said, is a rich man's problem because they don't come in contact with those who actually went to the high-risk countries and brought it to Nigeria, So they don't come in contact with, but they've forgotten that they are the ones that will still go to the airport to pick that same person who is coming back from
and these people
abroad.
Have house girls, house boys, they have drivers.
And they mix with these same Nigerians who actually traveled abroad.
So you can never tell.
So
it's an
you
invisible
can't tell
foe.
how the thing can actually spread. And that is where the president is looking at. And that is where those who are involved in trying to curb the situation are looking at and saying, fine, where can this thing actually spread and spiral into an unimaginable proportion? And that is Lagos as well as this FCT and Ogun State. Because of its if you look at the proximity to Lagos,
the two of them might as well be one state.
If you are talking about Lagos and Ogun,
geographically,
you can just talk about, just imagine Lagos and Mowe.
Yeah.
Lagos and Akute.
And you started Ogun State from there.
You understand? So all those areas are places that the government is actually looking at and saying, if we can lock people home, not lock as in lock, but stay home, we can easily identify and trace people and then isolate people.
Which is one of the points the president made, that we're going to use this first 14-day period.
Yeah, to
actually identify, trace.
Because actually people who actually came back, I'm sorry to say, there were some people who actually dropped fake numbers,
they were not
fake
cooperating.
identity and all that.
Yeah.
So it will be very difficult for us to be able to identify and to trace these people. But the ones that they can, and that's why the Lagos State is looking at 39 cases, confirmed cases, that they believe that will be the peak. But they are not praying that they should get up to that. So if they can trace and identify and isolate this number, we should be looking at less than at least 13,000.
Yeah. And should the worst happen, stadia across the country, I believe, are being designated as potential isolation centers, because following from what you are saying and maybe even illustrating it, there's a need to keep people who have been so identified away from the general population. And look, because of the problems of democracy and the rule of law, there are those who still want to go about their own business. Now, some states are fast-tracking laws that will enable them. Otherwise, You go and do the needful, you arrest somebody, or you bust a meeting, or a church meeting, or a society meeting. Before you know where you are, a lawyer has showed up in court, has sprung them. So we're going to, or at least finally, some will say, we're beginning to think about these things. If the authorities need to, do the needful for people who will not listen, there will always be such in every society, then there will be at least legal backing for it. Not that it needs to go as far as we hear happened in Rwanda, where a couple of guys were shot for actually daring to come out. God forbid it should get to that. People will listen. But it's underlining the danger that we all are facing. In the past, when we had these wide-spreading diseases, be it AIDS or especially AIDS, it was predicated on your behavior. So you knew how to take care of yourself. Don't engage in certain behaviors and you're going to be okay. And so you can say to yourself, by and large, if I didn't do this, then there's absolutely no way. But this is not like that at all.
This one is different.
This is totally, totally different, and it can't be emphasized enough. And that's why people, the president implored people to please play ball, play along if you want. Just cooperate with yourself. There's a sense in which you can say, but cooperate with yourself so that we can all get this thing, under control. Nobody has, the scary thing, Majid, is that, as I said, nobody in living memory has ever dealt with this kind of a thing before. So we're going to be learning as we go along. While we're waiting to contain it, there's probably a little bit of hope, no, maybe more than a little, in the Italian gentleman. What do they call those things? The something case.
The index case.
The index case that I believe has been healed and has been discharged now. So that speaks to the fact that if the worst happens, it's a survivable, situation.
Yeah, even beyond that, that's why I said, I gave credence to what happened. I compared Nigeria and Spain. We had our first, our index case on February 27th, and as at yesterday, and that was just one. As at yesterday, it was 111, with just one fatality, one death. In Spain, the index case in Spain was, I think, 2nd or 3rd of March. And by yesterday, there were 1,200 deaths in Spain, with about 20,000 cases reported. Now, in Nigeria, index case February 27th, that's Italian, and today, as at this morning, or probably as at yesterday night, 111, and with 3 cases already discharged. In fact, what we had over the weekend was that 6 additional cases have been treated. They were waiting for the final test in Lagos. So, which means this will bring down the number of cases. It will reduce it by another 6. So, we are making progress. But, like I said, it is cautious progress that we are making. And we don't want a community transfer, transfer of this disease to rubbish the progress we are making, because it will get to a point, the moment the figures start doubling or tripling or quadrupling.
It just
now
gallops away if you're not careful.
In US and in New York and in the state of Illinois now, it's quadrupling, which means in multiples of 4s.
Yes.
That's the figures they have. Even in the rates of on a particular day in US, I think about a Friday or Thursday, they recorded 248 deaths.
So this
on a day.
So it is these kind of things that our people, locally, need to be very, very
careful,
conversant of.
Yes.
And let it inform their behavior.
And to also, for our people to understand that this thing is not a white man's disease. It's not a white man's ailment. It's not. I mean,
I would dare to suggest
black people are dying.
Exactly.
I would dare to suggest that the elderly among us are probably the most resistant to the idea. They simply can't conceptualize it, perhaps. Not in all cases, but largely speaking, traditional elders, they will refer to former pandemics that are in no way, shape, or form similar to this and say, nah, you young people are, overblowing this thing. I guess people have to be patient and, long suffering and continue to hammer it so that, because they simply are not taking as much care where they are allowed to, because where they could. We hear reports of some of them still receiving visitors, not cooperating, but no, stay away for now. We just need to re-educate ourselves on the nature of this monster that we're all facing. And it's a silent monster. And people are going, but now that, I think Lagos State in particular, if I remember well, maybe Ogun State, they're pushing through legislation that if the people won't help themselves, then the state will have to help them any way that it can. And if that means taking them into custody, where you're going to put them, I don't know. But, because this is another aspect of it. We've also heard that the police authorities have decreed that, look, decongest detention facilities for, insignificant infractions, that in the past used to lead to detention. So everybody is thinking about how to do this, what can we do? But with our society, the elderly, we will always tell our elderly, but sometimes they will go their own way. And there are all sorts of societal aspects to this that we need to get on top of. Now, monies are being released. There are people who are saying that yesterday they didn't hear very, very much about the palliatives that people had hoped. People are looking to other countries and are seeing what is being done there and are saying that, well, where is our own version of that? There's a sense, would you like to take that?
Yes, you see, like I said, I talked about the president's speech and what people expected to hear. They were expecting, some people already did the calculation on social media.
Yes.
That 250,000 to, in fact, they even helped the president to say, well, there are 40 million Nigerians who have BVN, who have bank accounts. So just transfer 250,000.
You don't need to consult with them. There's no bureaucracy in the middle.
Yes. So those 40 million people who have BVN.
In the first instance.
You see, this is where data comes into play. There is nobody who is an American citizen or a European citizen that does not have a social security number.
So he's captured in some database. So
they are captured in a database. So they know whether you are employed, whether you are unemployed. But in Nigeria, the only thing we can talk about now is probably number of people who are registered to vote. Even that one is neither here nor there because,
subject to
because there is multiple registration. Even the BVN, if not for the NUBAN numbers, the unique bank account number, the 10 digits, they call it NUBAN. If not for that, at a point we had 160 million accounts until they now collapsed those account numbers through the biometrics registration, which now matched. If you have 10 accounts now linked to you, it will capture it as just one. So we have 40 million of that. That is the closest to, but then how do you determine those who are unemployed? Well, I saw the president talking about those in trader money, farmer money, market money. Well, those are those who, they need this, but there are some who are not even captured on that. That's the guys that hawk on the streets or who do their trade, the plumbers, the vulcanizers, plumbers, some artisans who are not captured under these schemes. And they live, or like the vendors who sell newspapers. How do you capture them under this kind of empowerment or provision?
Let me see.
What could have been closer to a palliative is the Lagos State
You're
government.
talking about database. That
Yeah,
we don't have
yeah,
those
we don't have
databases.
that database.
You've talked about the banking system and their database.
That is
I
it.
don't know. What do you think of SIM card registration as well? Is that a useful?
A lot of people have several SIM cards.
That's another challenge.
Evans, the alleged kidnapper stranding trial, has 177 SIM cards.
You see my trouble?
So, and several of them like that. So what could have been better is the Lagos State advantage. I mean, Lagos State example where food packs are being distributed through local governments. They know those who are vulnerable, especially through the local government. I think it's state government is doing something similar. They have a food bank system where they make provision for the elderly, where they give food to the elderly. So the federal government, then there's this constitutional cash transfer, but those people are already captured in the system. I mean, and I think it's about 20,000 per state. But then for a state like Lagos, we have about 19 or 20 million people.
20 million.
So talking about 20,000 in a population of 20 million. So that's why I said, for those who expect that the president will make a pronouncement on that, then, but although he also mentioned that there will be a palliative through the school feeding program, but then the schools are closed now.
But he did say in there that there are some.
Yes, he said they are trying to work out something
to continue.
Those
children who were getting lunch, that they were working things out for them to still get it even as
but that is cooked food. So
okay.
How are we going to get
it? Let me see if we can catch a caller in the UK. Good morning, caller. Bukola in the UK. Good morning. Okay.
Hello.
Okay, hello, Bukola. Good morning. Please go right ahead.
Yes. Oh, good. Yes. The president. I don't know whether you can hear me.
We can hear you.
The president is focused on her future. In that part of Nigeria, I mean, in the northern state. I don't know whether it's so where that she is the law fairness of donation cost about us. I thought the video of thinking that's what the Amalam said. I believe there were to actually sensitize one or two people in that area that are affected. It is a very powder that rest to them. That is at least you know about the I don't know the whole part, the northern part of Nigeria. It's not a so it's about the match because who are not who now decide you can. I think we should be given to the royal fathers speak to make the religious leaders who are people should call into post immediately. And I saw that video. Who said it's from out started coronavirus? You can imagine what thousands of people that are listening to this.
Kola, I'm afraid I'm going to have to discontinue this call. But thank you very much for trying. The technical quality is horrendous. We can hardly make out what you're saying, Bukola, but it's not your fault. So we thank you for calling in. It's a technical glitch. So sorry about that. Could you make out? It was very, very, very difficult.
I heard something about IDPs and people.
Okay, the question of IDPs coming up again, because it was just the technical quality just simply wasn't there, and it was dropping from time to time. So that was making it something of a puzzle to try and piece together what indeed Bukola in the UK was trying to say. There's a virtual lockdown in the UK. There's a total lockdown in the UK as well. But ours is different from theirs, isn't it?
Yes, because they have virtually...
That is the lockdown.
Yes.
You can't compare.
You can't compare even the health system. Because if they have a near perfect health system. You know, I want to use a near perfect because they're even experiencing death. So,
Yes.
You know, you can't compare it with Lagos or anywhere in Nigeria.
That's right.
You know, because we are virtually struggling. You know,
Even as it must be said that Lagos, as Majid started out by saying that he wanted to commend the, administration in Lagos State for what they're doing. So much so that we hear that people might even be requesting, in spite of, this was before the president had placed a ban, that people might be saying that, look, just take me to Lagos. Please, you can't put me here, or you can't treat me here.
Yes,
wherever you are.
No,
take me to Lagos.
The chief of staff to the president
said
issued a statement last night that he's coming to Lagos for treatment.
You see, that's
on his own bill.
He said it's going to be on his own bill, but he is coming to Lagos.
You see trouble.
So
you see trouble.
It's not.
And that's one bed less for.
No. He said it's going to be on his own bill. It's not going to.
Hey, the bed. I'm talking about the bed. I'm talking about the bed. The bed. The bill, yes. But I'm talking about the bed.
That goes.
That's one bed less.
It shows that Lagos has the capacity. If Lagos is giving all the support, it has the capacity to deal with this virus. And that is where everybody, all hands has to be on deck, where we are talking about people staying at home, they stay at home, and then they don't, if you don't need to go out. You don't need to go out when it's not necessary.
Indeed.
So that the governor and the government can be able to contain this virus.
But if everybody wants to come into Lagos, the sooner we sort ourselves. Well, sorry, we'll continue this. Let me get Abimbola in Italy, I believe. Good morning, Abimbola. Abimbola?
Sir?
Good. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. I am calling from Italy.
Good morning, ma'am.
Precisely Lombardy, sir, where this thing affects much.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Sir, I want to tell you something, sir, because this one they are closing everywhere down. They don't have, they've not been able to tell people the consequence of this. I live in the part that affects much, which is the Lombardy part of Italy. And when you live in a place where you see a lot of people, you know that they are gone. I think they should have a vision from one of the people that stays in a room with one toilet, like 10 people in the same place. How do you, try to, put these people, let them know? Because they are not telling people this in Yoruba, in every language they are going to understand. You see many market people, when they go to them, they say, no, there's nothing like coronavirus. Is this, is that. Nobody is educating them. I think the government needs to explain better in the language they can understand. Because this thing is real. I live in a place where 1,800 people die every day.
Wow.
Please, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in, Abimbola. Appreciate your call. Abimbola.
I know Lagos is trying to do desensitization from today, because they bought vans that will be going all out into communities to speak the language, both Pidgin, English, and Yoruba. And Hausa, so that people will be able to understand the severity of this virus.
But she did bring up something that is something of a global situation, because there is nowhere that you don't have poverty. I mean, we understand what we're talking about, but so the situation in not just Lagos but a number of other areas where you have people living in very, very close proximity to each other. Now you're saying that, and rightly so, that social distancing should be maintained. The truth of the matter, we are aware that it's going to be a challenge in some areas. So, whereas we should mention those things, but rather than dwell on them, because it isn't going to go away. We certainly won't stop having those tenement, situations where there are 10 families, depending on the size, or 20 families in an improbable kind of an area.
I think what the government can do now, the Lagos State government, because we have people living, close-knit environments, like more people, like maybe like 10, we have people living like 10 in a room, and that is even easy.
Although when we say 10 in a room, are we not exaggerating a bit?
It's not an exaggeration. There are some guys who actually go to Obalende at night. One of the reasons why the Lagos State government banned Okada and tricycles is because in Obalende at night you see a sea of heads on Okada and in Danfo buses sleeping there. And they ask them, how do you clean up in the morning? And they'll say, they go to some of these apartments. They don't have where they live. They
go and use their facilities. They go and use their facilities in some other place.
For a sum. They pay them.
Yes.
So
what happens? Let me see if I can get Andrew in Makurdi. Good morning, Andrew. Andrew, good morning. No. Andrew, are we going to be lucky? Andrew? Andrew? Andrew.
And back to what Abimbola raised about Italy, about like 1,800 people dying on a daily basis. My younger sister lives in Dublin. She just recovered from this virus. It was a 20-day treatment for her. They never took her to their facilities because they kept telling her, and this is a real-time situation. She did about 1 hour enlightenment on Facebook, telling Nigerians that this is what she went through. It was for 20 days. She went to UK for an event, got back to Dublin, and she started feeling this stuff. So this thing is very real. And she said she kept calling the emergency numbers, but because they were overwhelmed, nobody responded. They were telling her, well, we are still calling, which means we are okay. There are some people here who cannot talk, so they are the ones we are dealing with. And she said when she was to do her test, she was about number 4,000 plus on the list. So it took her about 6 days for her to get tested, for them to come to her house. And when they were to give her medication, and normal medication, they just told her to be getting hydrated, to be drinking water, warm water.
Because they couldn't really get to her. Just see what you can do to help herself.
It is a serious problem.
Let me see if I can get to Korafo again in AROCHUKWU. Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, Sayori.
Oh, excellent. Thank you very much for calling in. We can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Ogun. Good morning, Mr. Mashood.
Okay.
Good morning.
Honestly, Sayori, COVID-19 is real. Because, good morning, Mr. Sayori and Mr. Tokwa and Mr. Mashood. Yes. Honestly, COVID-19 is real. Because of Nigerian level of education, very, very poor. That is why many Nigerians are still doubting Thomases in Nigeria. To me, I would suggest that the federal government look at all the 36 states of their federation, including Abuja. You ask yourself, why was Nigeria give fake addresses, fake phone number? If I'm to be in the government shoe, I will arrange such people and charge them to court because they are charges. Because knowing fully well the gravity of this pandemic, why was you give Nigerian government fake address and fake phone number? It is not ready because this is another way of killing human beings. Now, the question now is this: the implementation of the president's address is the question now. How are they going to implement it? Because this food, and like what Mr. Wasu was saying, the children of the state is food. Who is going to cook it? How are they going to become the children to come back? Very people that this time is very, very important. And I think at the best also is that state governors should open food markets. The three things we need in Nigeria is food, water, and electricity. If there's electricity, people can sit down at home, watch the television, BBC, and watch other channels and enjoy themselves. But if there's a way there is no light, you feel it's very, very boring. And coupled with scarcity of water, we should ask ourselves, our senators, House of members, House of Assembly, where are they? They should go back to their constituency and do the parada for the people. People need their assistance now. Not when they come to election, you see them coming to pay people with salt and sugar and the dinner. But now that they need this salt and sugar and the milk, they don't see them. Where are we? Our people, I don't know, Nigerians, some Nigerians are very, very hard. They are very, very hard at the getting the other people killing human beings. Come back home and help the people now. Because this is not a question of one man show. And the leaders, I'm not begging the name of God. But obey government order. Because money is not in the best mathematical is money. That is target Nigeria, which is not healthy. Please, I see how was man from Italy, what is he saying? I make that every day. Now you have to say, look at that, over 300 million. Where are the facilities? Honestly, please let us obey government order. Thank you very much. Have a great day in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Mazi, for calling in. And you know, there are also those in the midst of this, because unfortunately, it must be a lack of education. I'm not talking about book education, where there are still people who want to profit out of this situation. And that's corruption comes in different forms. There are people who are expressing fears that this whole food, whatever palliative is being brought, that it is not above, going by their experience, some of our people to actually, try to do the ordinary, the common man, the poor man in this. Whether those fears are grounded, maybe the compassion that we are also noted for and sometimes will kick in, and people will not take undue advantage of those who really need these succors that government is providing. Remains to be seen. Let me see if I can get Andrew back in Makurdi. Good morning, Andrew.
For this situation of this coronavirus for Nigeria everywhere, can you hear me? So for this situation now for Nigeria now, and most of our leaders are coming from outside country now. Hello?
Andrew, we can hear you.
For this coronavirus now, most of us were out and we don't have money, we don't have nothing. So how are we going to do to the situation now?
Okay.
Because
Okay, Andrew, thank you very much for calling in. Thank you very much. We appreciate your call. We heard your main question, and we're looking, this is what we're also discussing here, that the implementation of, what the president was telling us about yesterday, that no doubt is what officials will be working on right now, because the devil is in the details. Now, I was talking about corruption, and it's a form of corruption when people go to the other aspect of not even being sincere, not even being truthful, giving bad information to authorities. People come into the country, do not want to be traced in the event that they have it, and so they give bad phone numbers, wrong phone numbers. They give false addresses. We have heard that from Governor Sanwo-Olu in Lagos, that these are some of the challenges they are going through as they try to trace people. So, and in the midst of all of that, government in Lagos is doing a fantastic job, as everybody is saying, and then they still have to waste precious time chasing these bad leads, intentionally false leads that they are being given by people. If that isn't a form of corruption, I don't know what is. And then on top of that, we have people, because of the excellence of the processes in Lagos, saying, take me to Lagos. I don't know. So I don't know how many people, because Lagos, of course, is not just about Lagosians. It's about anybody that is within the territory of Lagos for this purpose. So if people from other jurisdictions are now saying, look, I don't care how much it will cost. It doesn't, don't worry. The government, no, don't put a penny. I will pay my own money. Take me to Lagos. I was making the point. I was making the point that that's one bed less. That's one bed less for the people of Lagos. It doesn't matter that no government money is being spent.
No, the thing is, for an Hausa man, if he has an ailment and you want to give him a prescription, he will ask you, have you had this kind of ailment before? Did you use this drug for it, and did it heal you?
Yes.
So now, Lagos is a classical example.
Yes.
That the people in this case
are taken and they survive. Take me to Lagos. Just take me to Lagos.
That is it.
Are they in Zurich? Good morning.
Sir.
Go ahead, please. And
Good morning, sir. This is Ade from Zurich.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning, so you're getting this Samojid and the other guy.
Asuko
James. I want
James.
you to know that COVID-19 is real, but at the same time, do not create fear in the heart of the Nigerians. And I wanted to talk to the Lagos State Governor and the team for a job well done, and the other parts of Nigeria. They are really, really trying to prepare. And I will tell you also that most things that kill people is the fear of this coronavirus. It's not even the disease itself.
All right then. Thank you very much. So very well put, Ade, in Zurich. Well, I'm sure the experts are also watching this. You were saying that the chief of staff to the president had insisted on being taken to Lagos at his own personal expense.
It's not me saying it. He issued a statement.
There you go.
So it's in the papers. It's in public domain.
If every big man, wherever is, the unfortunate situation happens.
I hope El-Rufai and the CMD of I hope they won't be coming to Lagos.
But you know how it is. Why not? Because Nigerians want to go to the best places for whatever it is that is the situation.
One would have expected
if
that
there were no border
Abuja,
closures, maybe Nigerians would have said, take me to Israel. Maybe they would have said, take me to Germany. But you can't do that. It doesn't matter how much money you have.
Nobody is
even going there.
Because the health system over there is
already
overstretched, overwhelmed.
This is where the Lagos health system, for it not to be overwhelmed, But we hope, and we certainly hope that the chief of staff, gets well soon. But there's a principle involved. I think it was one lady, I saw her column, and she was saying that, look, if we're not careful here, people, you're about. No, let me just not go there. Someone else is, someone else is on the line. Tell me who? Who is on the line?
George.
Mr. George, good morning, sir. Well, we have.
Hello.
Okay, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. Can you hear me?
Yes, and just please speak, and I'm not going to interrupt you. I won't say anything till you finish.
Hello. The line is muffling, but I don't know if you are hearing me. Okay. Well, Uncle Yori, it's terrible news what is going on. Therefore, as it is, I hope we are learning our lessons. People think that whatever they believe in is what is ideal. You can see how this disease does not know legislature, it does not know minister, and it does not know electoral. Perhaps it's an opportunity for us to know that there are many wrong things we do that we need to do rightly. I think the Lagos State government is doing well. Federal government is also starting it properly. The only way that you can treat people, because there was one edition we were talking about people who live on daily routine, who live on daily income, that they will not be able to go out and make money. It's a time to choose whether it is the food that will kill you or it is this disease that will kill you. So you have to just choose one of the two.
Yes.
One thing I just want to let you know, clearly, that if disease is a tool for the government, and I don't want to predict something like a doom, but it's just a little. And considering what is yet to come. I was surprised when I saw some Chinese people praying on television. They now believe that you are now praying in the name of Jesus. They never thought there was a creator before. We have gone wrong in so many things, and we need to begin to do things right. Perhaps this one will tell us that if you're a government, there will be a time that nature will make you to account for your actions.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. George. Appreciate your calling in. There's a spiritual aspect to the whole thing, but work is going on. We were talking, we can't spend too much time on it, on the fact that the chief of staff to the president had, actually insisted on coming to Lagos. Yeah, we certainly hope that the COS gets well quick, and gets well soon. But we also were, talking about implications of that.
So, sorry, quickly.
If everybody makes a beeline for Lagos.
Driving home the point now, this is the time for the powers that be to reconsider that special status for Lagos, because if they can be, if they can think
exactly
that
right.
it is Lagos
exactly
that
right.
will give them
exactly
that now,
right.
then
because
Lagos deserves
now
that
it is devoid of politics.
That is
it doesn't
it.
matter what political party you're
in.
It doesn't matter what political
Senator
ideology you have.
and other senators raise that issue, but they shouted them down.
But now that it's a matter of your life, please take me to Lagos.
Yes.
Please take me to Lagos.
Yes.
Okay.
I think now, let me just drive home my own point.
Yes, in closing.
One, it is time for Nigerians to learn a lot of lessons here. One, the federal government has to look at how data will be it will be implemented. Everybody has to be on a database. Then the health facilities we have to start thinking, rather than keeping money for security votes, let's move it now.
Look at the kind
to
of
the
money
health.
earmarked for the renovation of the National Assembly. This is the time to divert that kind of money into the health sector.
They were
the
just
health
taking
sector.
delivery of their cars in the National Assembly,
Yeah.
but they kept quiet about that,
No,
because that is not the kind of thing you talk about now.
It is those two things: data, then the health system, and the education. Because
Okay.
because if you are not educated, how will you even know what is even happening elsewhere?
We've got to go now, but kudos to Lagos, and no doubt the people in Lagos are thinking ahead. Maybe as well as Abuja, they're thinking ahead to how to avoid, being overwhelmed as a result of their own excellence. The excellence of their own
like
organization.
the oxygen of Nigeria now.
Yeah, Lagos has become I love that. Lagos has become the oxygen of Nigeria at the moment. Okay, but when it comes to special status for Lagos, maybe they will now reconsider.
Exactly.
Now that people are saying, Lagos, please take me to Lagos. Yeah. Don't leave me here. Take me to Lagos. Thank you very much. AROCHUKWU James, TVC News Assignment Editor, and Najid Jamil, Executive Editor, Upshot Media. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Please stay safe. It can't be said often enough. Wash your hands with soap in the first instance. Of course, be sure to sanitize everything that you touch as much as possible. Join us tomorrow, God willing, for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.